A century ago, most of the power needed to do the plowing, planting, and cultivating on a farm was supplied by horses and mules. But with the advent of the tractor, horses took on a completely different role on farms. Nowadays, ranchers still use them to drive cattle and other animals, and a lot of farmers use them for pleasure riding. But this story is about a different kind of horse and what these horse owners do with them.
This is Fancy. Her registered name is Darman Czar's Golden Fancy, and I call her Fancy.
Fancy belongs to Beth Booker of Hurricane Acres in Canton. Beth's specialty is raising and training miniature horses like Fancy.
Miniature horses come in all styles. They come in the quarter horse style, they come in Arabian style, we have Appaloosas. When you see this miniature horse in a picture, nothing around it, just the picture, you should go, I wonder how tall that horse is. The first thing you think should not be, oh, look at this miniature horse, because you don't know the difference until you compare that miniature horse to a big horse or to the size, the height of the fence or the height of the person that's standing beside the horse.
Miniature horses came about from intentional breeding many years ago. They were highly valued by European royalty in the 1700s.
The theory is that people were breeding the smallest in whatever breed, whether it be draft or a quarter horse or Arabian. They were breeding those smaller horses, maybe even to a small pony, and coming out with the miniature horse.
Now, Beth doesn't use her horses for farming. She trains them to show in competitions across the country.
What goes into training a horse is you begin building a relationship with the horse, number one. I like to start off with them when they're very young and just build a relationship with them, feeding them, grooming them, teaching them ground manners. And then from there, they can show in showmanship and halter obstacle at the age of 2.
And then come the more difficult parts of the competition.
When we trot the serpentines, we want the horse to stay at pretty much a constant pace through the course. They need to move away from your shoulder, from your hip with their shoulder as you're moving through, and the exhibitor stays on the same side of the cone that the horse is on. In other words, the exhibitor doesn't go on one side and the horse on the other side. The goal is to hit right in the middle, for the horse to strike right in the middle of those cones as close as you can and keep that a nice smooth pattern.
Jumping is another class that Fancy competes in, but she's not crazy about it.
She does them. She is beginning to like them. It's not something that I don't think comes very natural to many of them. None of mine anyway. It's something I really have to talk them into. First we start with them low and get them to jump low, and then we gradually move them up.
Another class involves a hula hoop. The goal is for them to place their front or back feet in a hula hoop and then pivot all the way around without touching the hoop. And then there's the side pass class. The goal is for them to side pass smoothly through the boards until you ask them to stop. But one of the prettiest classes is when they're driving a cart.
In your Western or classic driving, you want this horse to simulate what a quarter horse would look like sort of in their pleasure riding classes, where you've got their neck and pole pretty much even with their withers, maybe a little higher. Their face is straight up and down, and their leg action is more of a sweeping leg action like you would see in that quarter horse. The country pleasure, the head is a little higher, a little more leg action. The pleasure horse has their head really high and they have a lot of leg action. Then you've got your park harness horse that's even fancier than that. And then we have a roadster class that any of those horses can go in a roadster class. You come into the ring at a collected trot and you are asked to change gaits to an extended trot. Then they will ask you to walk, and then you turn in reverse to go the other direction, go through the same gaits. Then you come to the center and line up, and then in the country pleasure and Western country pleasure and the pleasure classes, you have to back the horse. The horse has to be able to back. In the roadster class, you do not have to back. And what the judges is wanting to see is a well-trained horse, a well-mannered horse, a horse that can stay consistent at the gait that's been called for.
Some people claim that miniature horses behave badly, but Beth says it's all in the training. Her horses are calm enough that she lets her 4-year-old granddaughter, Jaden, groom and ride them.
I cannot tolerate misbehavior and ill-mannered horses. I personally can't handle them either. So I want them good-mannered. So if I wouldn't allow a big horse to do that, I shouldn't allow my miniature to do that. So as a result, my horses are fairly well-mannered. I'm not going to tell you they're always well-mannered because they all have their moments. They are a horse. They are still a horse. Jaden does like to be around them. She enjoys being around them.